We are at the Haus der Kulturen der Welt in Berlin. The Haus der Kulturen der Welt is placed in the Tiergarten in the center of Berlin. We are a cultural institution organizing, developing, conceptually developing, producing events related to global issues. Yeah, we are an autonomous cultural institution financed by the federal state of Germany. My name is Bernd Scherer. I'm the director of the Haus der Kulturen der Welt. The Haus der Kulturen der Welt works on international themes, projects, problems. And we were discussing about 4 or 5 years ago already how the house should react to the theme of climate change. Then we developed at that time a big project together with the Bundeskulturstiftung, which is a foundation, a state foundation who supports cultural events. A big project related to in which way climate change and the situation we are in, the ecological situation we are in, is changing modes of life in people and cities especially. And we had a big call to the city of Berlin, and we had about 800 initiatives here in Berlin who started to participate in that. And we related then the project internationally to New Delhi in India, to Petersburg in Russia, to Nigeria, and to Sao Paulo in Brazil. So, but this was a project related to this, initiatives. Are they individual? Are they small groups developing new forms of life? For example, urban gardening would be such a form, or new modes of food consumption. In the context of this project, we did a lot of research, and I got acquainted with the thesis of the Anthropocene. And I was very attracted by that thesis because it was a thesis by natural scientists, in this case geologists, trying to prove or to find out if the impact of human beings on this earth was such big that it has a geological dimension. What meant that human beings are entering geological time. I found this thesis very interesting because it was, from the natural science point of view, asking the humanities to join into a bigger picture. Because when human beings are changing the world, even to the extent that they are creating their own nature, then of course also the natural sciences should be very much interested in developing new relationships to the humanities. And since I think since a long time that technology, natural sciences, and of course capital are changing our societies to a great extent, but are normally neglected by cultural institutions because they don't know how to deal with them, how to get an angle, how to get an access to the natural sciences. This opened a door for me. So I started to speak with natural scientists about it, and then it became clear that one has to distinguish two aspects in the Anthropocene thesis or in the Anthropocene idea. The one aspect is the natural science aspect. Geologists are now doing research on that in order to prove that, or they find out from a geological point it's not as relevant. On the other side, and this is a much more interesting side for me, is what are the political, cultural, social implications of this thesis? Because it defines the relationship between humans and nature and the environment in a new way. And then I started this project, and I got my first step was to speak, as I said already, with a quite number of institutions. We got the interest from the Max Planck Gesellschaft, and the Max Planck Gesellschaft, of course, has very different research institutions all over. From looking at aspects of the Anthropocene from very different perspective. Then I got to know that the Deutsche Museum in Munich, which is a museum for technical history of technology, also started to think about a similar project. Then we had another Institute for Sustainable Studies in Potsdam who got interested. Then the PIC, which is a very important institute in Potsdam, the Potsdam Institute of Climate Change, got interested. Another research foundation in Munich, the Rachel Carson Center, which invites scientists and people from the humanities from all over the world with scholarships. So we got a whole set of very interesting research institutes involved in that, and they were quite, it was very interesting that they were quite fascinated to work with us as a cultural institution. But for us, it was also a very new terrain to work with natural science institutions together. So basically, this was the starting point, and the idea now of the Haus der Kulturen der Welt is basically, together with at least some of these major institutions, to build up a kind of cooperation which basically has at its aim to rethink the way we produce knowledge. Germany, as most European countries, consider themselves as a knowledge-driven society, and therefore I think it's very important to see in which way this kind of new findings, basically the crisis we are in, which is on the one side a crisis of the object world, so to say, climate change, the problems we have with the seas worldwide, and so on, and soil, water issues. So you have it on the object level to some extent, but at the same time it's also quite an epistemological crisis, that the old knowledge systems we have are not anymore representing the way we experience the world. I think this is a wonderful big cultural project, and so we started to develop that. And then perhaps last word to that, as far as financing is concerned, we were very lucky because I spoke with our Minister of Culture, and I spoke with the council, the budget council of the parliament, and both of them got so interested in the idea that they gave us specific money to develop this. So we started to work on this about 1.5 years ago, and will go on for the next 3 years. I mean, there are so many issues involved here, one can easily imagine that this goes on even beyond this time limit.